Welcome to the In Search of More podcast. I am your host, Ellie Nash. Join me weekly on my quest for more from myself and more from this world. We'll see you on the other side. All right, welcome, Eric.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Good, likewise. I'm sitting here with Eric Samra, first podcast in a long time. You got me out of retirement practically.
Nice.
Over here. So I'll introduce Eric to those listening. Because we first know each other personally. Our wives are friends. Our kids are friends. We became friends. And then recently, what was it, Adama 7?
8.
Adama 8 was your first one?
Adama 8 was my first.
Oh, nice. Okay, so Adama 8, you joined, and by Adama 9, you're already helping out.
Yeah, like you said, I think I'm a natural.
And also the focus, it was an area that I always wanted to bring to Adama. I think it's important in men's work, obviously, one's relationship with money. And it was a good natural fit, and I think you've seen the response for it.
Yeah, I mean, it spoke to me since you first mentioned Adama a couple of years ago. And timing didn't really work out for the first few, but Adama 8, I was able to make it happen. Wife and kid were in New York, and I said I have no excuse, and I showed up, and I'm glad I did.
Awesome. So we'll get there, but before we do, obviously you talk about money. You talk about one's relationship with money. I think it's important to understand who someone is, you know. So let's get to your story. Where'd you grow up? How'd you grow up? And maybe some formative stories in childhood that led to this passion around one's relationship with money.
Yeah, so I grew up in a very affluent town in Long Island called Great Neck. You've probably heard of it. Both my parents were immigrants from Israel, originally from Iraq. And my parents met in New York.
Maybe bring this a little closer.
Yeah, sure. And, you know, my parents are both very hard workers, extremely hard workers. And it was kind of interesting because my town was, you know, a lot of rich kids, you can say. And I was in the warehouse on the weekends growing up when my friends were all out playing. So
In your dad's warehouse?
In my dad's warehouse, putting shoes on the shelf, taking shoes off the truck, you know. And
what was his business?
He was in the women's bridal business. He would, you know, my mom would run the warehouse, do all the design work, handle the employees, the accounting, and my dad was on the road all the time. So I grew up with my father really being mostly a businessman, you know, and he wasn't around as much as I, you know, would have probably wanted him to be. And that really left a mark on me. First of all, it taught me good work ethic. As much as I hated it back then, I realized, you know, what it takes to be successful. My dad showed up to New York with zero. He had absolutely nothing. He started in a yellow cab, and he built a pretty successful business. So I got to see two sides of the coin. One was him working his ass off day and night on the road, my mom working extremely hard. And the other was he was able to take that money and invest into real estate and really use the money to work for him. So I had a very happy childhood. I can't say too many traumatic events that I had growing up, but growing up in Great Neck was definitely a bubble. So, yeah, I'm very appreciative of where I came from and my upbringing and my parents. And I learned a lot from my dad on what to do, how to be an honest businessman. But I also learned a lot about what not to do. You know, he gave up his health for chasing money because he came from nothing. He didn't know how to stop. He just kept going after more and more and more and more. And in the process, he didn't focus on his health. He didn't spend time with us as much as, you know, I think he would want to. I think he regrets it now a little bit. So I learned from an early age that when I have kids, I'm going to be there. You know, I'd rather have a little bit less money, but have quality time with my family and make those memories early on.
Got it. Is there a specific memory or story that captures, you know, sometimes behind passion, there's pain.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a specific memory or story that captures what you mean when you say your dad worked too much?
I mean,
when to stop.
Yeah, you know, it was always a sensitive, frustrating topic when it came to money. There's always a lot of anger behind it. I would hear him on the phones yelling at the customers for payment, or, you know, there were times where he would take me to shoe stores in Brooklyn, and because he didn't want to pay the meter, he'd leave me in the car. And I wouldn't know how long I could be in the car for. It could be an hour, it could be 2 hours, it could be 3 hours. And I just remember not liking him. being really angry about that. And I remember I would be in the warehouse and I'd carve into the boxes, like, I hate this, or like, just bad things. So it was always stressful. The motto was money doesn't grow on trees. What do you guys think? I just wake up and the money shows up. It was always very stressful. It was always very, not a positive subject when it came to money. Even though he was doing well, it was still something that was never enough. He always needed more.
So, in general, the tone around money, the subject of money was one that elicited stress.
Yeah.
Got it.
For sure.
Got it. And you sought to change that in some way.
Yeah, well, I was able to see the other side of it. He showed me how you can make money work for you. He started doing pretty well in real estate, and that grew, and then eventually he sold the shoe business and he went full-time in real estate. And then, thank God the last 20, 30 years or so, he's been able to just pretty much live comfortably off of that without having to work so hard. He used to bang his head into the wall every day, and that was kind of the philosophy. You have to work really hard. You have to struggle. You have to suffer. But then he was able to figure out another way. So I learned from that, and I said, let me just skip the hard-working part. Even though I did work hard myself, but I always knew that there was going to be an end point to that, and I was going to stop, and I was going to enjoy my life.
Got it. So bring us into your career a little bit. Did you go to school for something?
Yeah, so I went to Tulane University. I got my bachelor's in finance. I got my master's in accounting, and I worked at KPMG.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, when I graduated, I did a 5-year program at Tulane, and I stayed in New Orleans. And I worked for 1 year at KPMG. And
so you're a CPA?
No, I never got my CPA. My father wanted me to. He spent $250,000 on my education, and I ended up working for 1 year. But I knew pretty early on in the job that this is not what I wanted to do for my life.
What did you do for KPMG?
I was a tax accountant. So we were filing taxes for big companies in New Orleans.
Gotcha. So you yourself weren't a CPA, but...
No, I wasn't a CPA, but I was working for
other CPA on your team. I mean, you were doing the same work.
I was doing like the bitch work, you can say. And I just knew early on, I was like, this is not what I'm meant to do with my life, sitting at a desk, just staring at a screen. So after 1 year, at the time I was making pretty good money playing poker. I was going to Harris Casino over there, and I was, the good thing about New Orleans is it's a pretty cheap life. You don't need much money to get by. So I used my accounting skills, I guess, to kind of manage my budgets, and I saved up a decent amount of money. After 1 year exactly, I quit my job, and I just enjoyed a year. I said, I don't have to be in school. I don't have to work. I can just enjoy life. There's another option that nobody told us about. And that year, I was able to really kind of get into myself. I was able to go internal and say, what do I want for my life? What do I want my life to
How old
look
were
like?
you at this time?
I was 21. I guess I graduated college, 22, something like that. And I was just really loving life. I had a girlfriend at the time. I had a cool boxer puppy, and I would just be playing poker. Smoked a lot of weed at the time. And I was able to...
We'll talk about that.
We'll get into that. Yeah, exactly. But I was able to really sit down with like a journal and just start to say what I want out of my life. Like we're supposedly in the middle of space floating around, and all these people are just sitting at a desk year after year, whether it's school or whether it's work. And I said, that's not my life. I don't want my life to be so predictable,
When you took off the year, did you know going in that it was going to be a year?
No, I just said, I just want to take time for myself. I didn't know exactly how long it was going to be.
Got it. Okay. Keep going.
So then from there, I ended up taking a trip to New York. My buddy of mine invited me to his boss's house for Shabbat dinner. And he asked me, he's like, what are you doing at the time? And I said, right now I'm not really doing much. He goes, well, look, I have a private equity company. I'd love for you to come work for me. And it was a pretty good opportunity. He offered me a pretty nice salary. So I said, okay, fuck it, let's go. So I came back to New York, started working with him. And
you make us edit all this stuff out.
Huh?
I see you make us edit all these words out. We're not used to it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just like the F words. I mean, the other ones I think were okay. But
okay, fine.
Yeah, we'll keep it.
No problem. So that was my first time taking a year off in New Orleans. I moved back to New York when I was about 23 years old, and I started working for this guy in New York, and I learned the private equity side of things, how to move numbers on a screen and make money that way. So that was interesting. I did that for about a year and a half.
What do you mean by move numbers on a screen?
Like stocks, he was investing in public companies, getting stock at a heavy discount.
Got it.
And he was able to very quickly make a lot of money just by, buying the stock cheap and selling it.
Right, investing directly into public companies.
Directly into public companies.
So calling companies for public, working out some sort of deal, getting some shares, then you have it on the open market.
Exactly. Yeah.
Understood.
He worked out. He had a sweetheart type of loophole deal that he figured out, and basically originally I was there to start calling, but I was really bad at it. So he said, listen, if you can't figure out something else to do here, I have to let you go. I started running his books, and by 6 months in, I was running all the paperwork in his entire office. Took over a lot of the legal stuff. I took over all the accounting, and I was making a pretty good salary there.
Got it.
So
Cool.
yeah.
How long did you do that?
I was there for about a year and a half, and every couple of months he would give me a raise. He just really liked what I was doing with him. He liked that I was taking care of a lot of the stuff. I took other people's jobs off their plate, and I was managing his whole office. But again, I was not happy with where I was at. Again, I was staring at a computer every day, and I said, this isn't for me. So I started envisioning a new dream, and this time I was living in Tribeca in New York, and I said, I'd rather be at Battery Park shooting hoops, reading a book on the bench, smoking a joint, and just living my life. Again, I was like, what am I doing, So every day for about 6 months, I was on the train heading to my office, but in my head, I was on that bench in Battery Park until finally things kind of came to be. And at the time, I was also making a lot of money playing poker online. I still kept up with that. So one day I was like, listen, this isn't for me anymore.
She's talking about playing poker professionally, not gambling, but
yeah,
I mean, it's gambling, but it's a little different.
Yeah, I don't like. So there's two different types of poker. There's cash game poker, and then there's tournament poker. And cash game poker for me is gambling. That's when you can pull money out of your pocket. You can lose $1,000 within 5 minutes, and you can pull out another 1,000. And you can keep doing that until you have no money left. A tournament is when you take $100, $200, 500, whatever it is, and you play to one person who has all the chips. And that can last 5 hours. It can last 2 days. It can last 3 days. So that to me was more skill. I said, if I can build my skill set enough where I can play tournaments over a long period of time and I could do well, then to me it's not gambling. It's more of a
There's
skill
only
game.
one winner?
There's only one winner. You play to one person who has all the chips.
Got it. There'd be like multiple tables and then one winner, right?
Exactly. There's multiple tables, and they slowly come together, so you have a final table. And I was just really good at it.
And you were making money doing that?
I was making money playing tournament poker.
That means you had to be the last guy.
Yeah. But you don't have to be the last guy. There's one winner of the tournament, but let's say there's 1,000 players, the top 100 will make money.
Oh, got it. Understood.
Yeah. So there's a prize pool, and then as you get closer, you get the payouts get bigger and bigger.
Got it. Understood.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So
you're doing that, making money.
Yeah.
On the train, thinking about Battery Park.
Thinking about Battery Park.
Shooting hoops.
Yeah, and at the time he was ready to give me another raise. I was making like $2,000 a week, $2,500 a week, something like that. He's like, I want to bump you up to $3,000 a week.
This is like 20 years ago.
This is 20 years ago. Right. Yeah, so it's good money for me, and I was able to save. I was able to put money away, and again, I was really good at budgeting. I was really good at knowing how much I needed every month and how long it would last. How much my money in the bank would last, and the money was coming in playing poker. So I quit that job, and next day I was at Battery Park. I did that for about a little over a year, and I really loved it. Again, I focused on my health, focused on living my life, just enjoying. I was free. But what I found was back then when I started doing that, I was not so productive with my time. I'd waste a lot of time in between, just doing whatever, dicking around. But it was good. It was good for me to really understand who I was, what I wanted out of my life. And not be distracted 6, 7, 8 hours a day being at a desk,
It's interesting to have an accounting skill and to hate being at a desk.
Yeah. Well, they can go hand in hand if you know how to use it right, I guess.
I hear you.
But that was a fun time in my life. Lived in New York. Again, no school, no job, just free. So that was the second time I was able to do that. And then I was ready to make Aliyah to Israel, filled out all the paperwork. I was about 1 week away from my one-way flight. And my older brother had started a shoe company of these foldable ballet flats, and it really took off. He had a bunch of celebrities starting to wear them, and one night he calls me. He's like, "Listen, I could really use your help. I have all these orders and sales, and I don't know what to do. He didn't know how to process it. He was overwhelmed. He was great at the design, sales, marketing, but he needed a back end. So the next day I showed up at his office. I was there for about 12 hours, and ended up canceling my flight to Israel and started building the business with him.
Nice.
And we took it from about 200,000 in sales in the first year to about 10 million in 2 years.
Nice.
So it really took off, and I kind of just fell into it, And that was an amazing experience. I ended up building a beautiful showroom in Tribeca. Had like 30, younger employees working for us, and ended up being the CFO of the company. And we went up really fast, and then we ended up kind of going down pretty quickly also because we were inexperienced and we overstaffed. We took on too much space. We took on too many SKUs. A lot of rookie mistakes, you can say.
Right. And then the business.
He continued on. We ended up having a little bit of a falling out at the time when things got really bad. He was in a really tough spot, and I ended up kind of just giving up my equity in a way. I wanted out. I was about 6-7 years into building the business with him.
Okay, so this business you went at it for a number of years because your other positions was a year and a half.
Yeah.
This one you went for it.
Yeah, this one was my thing, and it was a family business. It was my brother's name on the product, and I thought this was going to be my forever career, but things went bad, and I just remembered just the last few months were just miserable. It was just tough, payroll, and my brother ended up moving to Texas, so I was there managing the office, and I wanted out. I was in the same position again, only this time it was a little bit darker because it was my family, and it was, my parents were involved. They were trying to bail us out. So from there, I started envisioning a new picture, which was just freedom. I just want to be free. I just want to not have employees, not have an employer, and ended up working out. I didn't want to quit. I didn't want to be the one to quit, but it ended up, I kind of got kicked out in a way. The truth was I got a letter from a lawyer one day saying that, you have zero equity, and my wife was about a month away from giving birth. So she was hearing this, crying in the kitchen. We had a $6,000 apartment in Williamsburg, and I was smiling. I was just so happy because this was it was just freedom for me. I was reading it and I was like, oh, this is great. I don't care how it's going to work out. I just know it's all for the best.
Got it. There definitely was some, I heard the words you don't care, but there was definitely some raw emotion there. I'm wondering if we should touch it or not.
I mean, it was rough, but I understood where my brother was at that point. He was going through a tough time, and I knew it wasn't him. I knew it wasn't really him. So early on, I was able to say I'm not going to hold it against him, even though, we had a little bit of a falling out for a while, but thank God we ended up reconnecting. But no, I was just happy to be free again. And then, I had a beautiful apartment in Williamsburg. I had a basketball court downstairs, a sauna, the gym, and I went right into my freedom life again. Another year off. This is my third time taking time off.
And at that point in time, financially, you were also okay, despite the troubles in the business.
I was decent, but this time my nut was a little bit bigger. My
Right.
monthly expenses was higher. Again, I had a $6,000 apartment. I had a kid on the way. I was married now at the time, so I had a little more responsibility. But I was able to manage. I was still playing poker, not as much. I had some other investments. The one smart thing I did when I was in the business, I didn't pull out as much money as I would have liked to, but I invested it all. I bought some gold and silver. I bought some crypto at the time. I bought some properties in Israel, and I was able to live off of that. I started trading crypto more frequently, and I just learned that you don't have to work; you have to make money. That was the main message I got at that point, and that's when I started learning there's other ways to make money if you're open to it. If you believe, like my dad had taught me, money doesn't grow on trees. You have to bang your head against the wall. Then that's going to be your reality. But if you think that there's other ways of making it, then opportunities can start to show up.
And in your case, those opportunities look like gold, silver, crypto investments.
Yeah, various things. And what happened was, at that time, I guess, I gained a little bit of respect because I built this business, and from the outside, it looked like a very successful business. And now I had all this free time, and now I was talking to family members, I was talking to friends, just different ideas were kind of floating around of what kind of, next venture I can get into. People were asking if I could help them, if I could, consult. And I was very patient. I took about 8 months. And the thing was, the timing was divine because I told myself for many years growing up, like I said, that when my son is born, I'm going to be there with him. We have these miracles of children, and then you go to the office the next day. You just leave this baby at home, and now you see him for like an hour a day. I'm like, that's not me. I want to be there with my son when he's born. I want to spend time with him. So I was able to do that, and then I ended up, my best friend at the time he's still my best friend, but he was also doing something in private equity, similar to what I'd done in the past, and he started to gain some traction. So he was like, "Hey man, maybe you can come and join us," and I did, and we started to build that business. We were in the city, and then from there we said, "Look, what are we doing in New York? We're paying all these crazy taxes. We're making decent money. Let's move down to Florida."
I hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people came here for that.
Yeah, yeah. So we moved before COVID. It was like 2018, I think, when I moved down to Florida. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And since then, you've kind of been in this, maybe a similar space, not having to do the grind, but still being able to.
Well, no, that was
a
new grind, because now I was the lead. I was the caller for the company, and we were dealing with public companies in Canada, and I did that for about 6.5 years, and we did very well, but like in the past, well, actually this time was different. This time I started building a blueprint, and my full-time job was the private equity, but on the side I was building this model in my financial models, which is basic stuff, balance sheet, cash flow analysis, but what I added in there was what I call a dream life scenario. And I said, let me map out in numbers how much my dream life will cost me. And I came up with a number. I listed all my necessities on one side, all my luxuries on the other side, and I said, okay, how much is this going to cost me per year? And then I said, let me just extrapolate that over 10 years. And I came up with a number, with a target.
Had you account for inflation in that?
A little bit. I mean, my whole thesis for the last 15 years, I've been kind of telling all my family and friends, you got to get out of the dollar. I think the dollar is going to go down. So a lot of my investments were inflation hedges, and they've all done pretty well. I started early on in crypto, like I said. And gold and silver I've only bought for the last 15 years. I never really sold an ounce. I've only been buying. So I wasn't worried about that. But what I just wanted to know was, what was the number I needed to get to, and what percent do I have to make on that number to continue living this life that I was living, or the life that I wanted to live, I should say. And it took me about 5 years. And every day I would update my numbers. I'd update my numbers until one day I finally hit the number. And that was about 2 years ago. After 6 years of working with my buddy, and I called him up and I said, listen, take me off payroll. I'm out. And that was the last time I worked a job. Oh. And since then I've been pretty free. So this is my 4th time, just kind of being on my own, being able to, my goal was really simple. It was to be able to wake up every morning and choose what I want to do today, without anybody pulling me in this direction, that direction, no employer, no employees.
But you still have work responsibilities, real estate investments, things you have to manage.
Yeah. From there, I got into other types of investments, like some real estate stuff here in Miami. But all my investments were aligned with my thesis, which was that I want to stay free. I can help. I can run the accounting for the buildings. I can do the books. I can be on site if I need to be, but it's on my own terms. It's not a full-time thing. You don't
have to answer to the man.
I don't have to answer.
But it's not even the man. Even if you would feel the same way if you had a company with employees and. That has shackles too.
Right.
I'm saying you don't want to answer to the man, and you don't want to answer to anybody.
Yeah, I don't want to answer to anybody. I don't want anybody pinging me. I want to be the one doing the pinging. I don't want to wake up and have people.
But you also don't want an employee with 100
No.
A company with 100 employees.
No, that I realized after that, the business with my brother, the last thing I want to do is run another business.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so it's more investments, more passive.
Yeah,
okay.
More passive investments, investing in other people's businesses. I invested in like a movie, some land outside the U.S., other currencies. I just making money. I learned the whole idea of just moving numbers on a screen, kind of making money that way. And I continue to play poker.
Okay, so this passion to share this with others, where is that coming from?
Well, for a long time, I just said, let me build a blueprint for myself. And if I can do it, I've actually never really watched a full podcast until you invited me on here. And I started watching your podcast with Michael Holt. Right.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And one thing he said that stuck out to me was that, first you have to kind of go through it. You have to become the person, and then it's easy. Then you can kind of just share who you are and what you've done. So I felt like that was what I was doing. And I started helping family and friends, not so much just with financial stuff, also with health, and then some financial stuff, help them with some planning, and I was seeing results. I was really helping them.
Give me an example of what you mean by results. Are they making more money? Are they losing weight? What's the...
Yeah, so I had one buddy who came out of rehab. He was in really bad shape, like really bad shape. He was 300 pounds on lithium, could barely talk, could barely complete a sentence, and all of our friends had basically abandoned him. So this is when I was living in Williamsburg at the time, and I was free. I just happened to stop working with my brother, and I said, "Listen, man, come over to my apartment once a week. We'll set some goals. We'll work out, go in the sauna, go in the gym, go for a swim, and every week you'll come back and we'll take a picture and we'll weigh you in." And just the idea of, okay, here you are today. Here's what you look like now. Here's where you want to get to. So he set a goal of 180, going from 300 to 180 pounds, and he started to see some progress. You know, from 300, he dropped to 260, 260 down to 240, and then 220, and then he got stuck around 200 for a long time. But what I noticed was, what I said to myself was, I don't want to force him to have to read books or try to find a girl. Let me just get him healthy. Let me just get his mind and his body healthy. At the time, he was like waking up 3 a.m. with voices in his head telling him to finish a whole box of cereal every single night. So I was like, let me just get this guy to a point where he can complete a sentence and feel good about himself. So slowly he transformed, and
you focused on his health.
Just his health. Yeah, just his health. And it was really working. You know, it said small goal every week, 2 pounds, 3 pounds, 2 pounds. And he would literally hit the goals every single time. And he'd come in so excited and so happy. And we were able to, connect over that. And eventually, I think it took him about 5-6 years. He hit his goal of 180. Wow. Now he's helping his family. He's doing amazing things. He's sharing his story, and he's doing good things on his own right.
And with him, you shared also the Dream Life Blueprint that you work on?
No, that came later. So what I learned was I was doing all this kind of just to do it, just out of the goodness of my heart, because I love the guy and I wanted to see him do well. But like I said before, what I realized was I was not productive in those times. Those first 3 times that I took time off, I didn't plan it. This time I said, I'm going to plan it. I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do with my day. What does my perfect day look like? So that when the time comes, when I hit the number, I'm going to go right into that life. So the last 2 years, I've been much more productive with my time, and I've been actually developing this blueprint and making it more robust and adding more tabs to the Excel spreadsheet and all that fun stuff.
Understood. So just so I understand let's put some numbers on it, not your specific numbers, but just to, so let's say you're saying, okay, my dream life costs $100,000 a year.
Right.
And I can have investments that can allow me to spend 5% a year. So once I get to a $2 million number and I know how to invest, I can keep growing it, and I can keep spending $100,000 a year, and I don't have to make myself crazy. Right. That's kind of the...
Yeah, it's a little more than that. It's also understanding how is your money allocated today? What are the different buckets, right? You have real estate, you have long-term investments, you have gold and silver, you have crypto, whatever. There's all different types of buckets. And I said to myself, when I hit my target number, how will the money need to be allocated in order for it to work on its own without me having to really be involved?
But you're predicting a lot of unpredictable things.
Meaning?
Like where gold is going to trend silver, crypto, I mean.
Yeah, but it was more about, I need gold to be 10% of my portfolio. I need crypto to be 15% of my portfolio. I need real estate to be this amount. And I had set these goals, and it's okay, this is where I am today. Let me slowly start to build these buckets. It took me 5 years, but every month I would put money into the different buckets, and I would track, where I was. Maybe I need to sell some gold.
Got it. So you had both a total dollar amount that you want to save.
Right.
And then from that, you want it allocated in different buckets.
Exactly. So, and I was slowly building those buckets, and and that became my full-time job. The last 2 years, my full-time job was just managing managing my budgets, managing the numbers. Every day I'm updating it, and then it's like, okay, what actions do I need to now do to take care of the investments? But along the way, I was just tracking where my portfolio was and where it needed to be, so that by the time I hit the number, it was already situated. Everything was in the right buckets, and it was kind of working on its own.
Understood. Okay, so I was asking you about the passion to share this, right? The Dream Life Blueprint and what results mean for you. So if you're working with someone, are you trying to get them to make more money? Are you trying to get them to be happier independently of money? What's the goal? What are you working on? Yeah,
so first of all, a lot of it came from Adama. But the goal really has got nothing to do with the money. It has to first start with what kind of lifestyle you want to live. Taking time to really sit there with a journal and understanding where do I want my life to go? What does a dream life look like? That's kind of become my mission, is getting people to go back to dreaming. It's like a lost art, like kids do it fairly easily. They have this big imagination. And I think what happens is, we force kids to go to school year after year after year. And I remember I hated school, early on. I didn't want to go. I'd rather, go play outside. But you slowly dim that light of imagination over time to the point where they get out of college. Okay, I got to go to work now. I got to just do, same thing. And there's no time to dream. There's no room for that. So I started dreaming again. And I said, I want to help other guys dream as well. And it starts with the dream. It can't start with just chasing a number, because that's not really what you want.
Right.
What you want is to live a certain life. Okay, cool. Let's first put that life, let's make that a clear picture, a clear vision. And then we can start attaching the numbers to that lifestyle.
Got it. So for you, it's more, I get it. So the passion is really freedom.
Freedom. And it means something different for everybody.
100%.
Maybe some people want a business with 100 people. Maybe that's freedom to some people. Yeah. But yeah, just understanding but the problem is we're so busy working, we're so distracted with all these other things that we never have the time to just sit with ourselves and think about it. What does my dream look like? What does it feel like? Who am I surrounded with? What am I doing with my day?
Got it. Can you describe some of yours? And I'm sure it changes, but from where you sit now, where is the...
Yeah, so...
And is some of what happened with Adama part of that dream?
Yeah,
big time. Some of what's happening?
Big time, yeah, big time. So my dream has really become this mission from Adama is to launch this sort of blueprint to help other people. But for me, it continues to be freedom to choose what I want to do every day, which is spend time with my family. Number one, my wife and my kids are my top priority, and I want to make sure I'm there for them. But it's my health, waking up and getting to the gym, getting to the beach, getting in a sauna, getting in a cold plunge, making sure I have time for that. Continuing to have time for myself to lay in my hammock and read a book, do my journaling. And then what happens was, once I hit my dream life that I wanted 2 years ago, I kind of hit a plateau. And I said, you know what, now I need a new dream.
Right.
So I've been living that life, and then I felt like there was something missing. And, Coach Omar from Adama kind of pulled me in and said, listen, you're doing great, you're in good shape, you're financially set, you have a beautiful family, but you're missing a little bit of fulfillment in your life. And we started the Dream Life Blueprint coaching program with some of the guys from Adama, and that's been just, that's really awakened me and lifted me up to a new level of what I can accomplish. And I also want to create a community outside the United States. I'm looking at some land that I'm excited about, hopefully, not hopefully, I am going to secure it and maybe bring Adama down to South America.
I hear that. So your thought is to move there full time, or your thought is to?
No, my thought is to build a backup for me and my family.
A bunker. Above ground bunker.
What Adama has done for me is made me realize how much I love connecting with the land, taking my shoes off for 3 days and turning my phone off, just connecting with other humans. I've been down to Uruguay 3 times now in the last 2 years or so. And it's just traditional cultural values, clean food, clean air, clean water, and they do things the right way down there, I feel. And you can get a nice piece of land, beautiful, villas, the architecture there rivals Miami's actually. And just having an investment property that, hopefully performs well, but also having a place for me and my family to go visit and enjoy, and then eventually building, sort of kind of like a community retreat type of place.
Cool. Let's talk about, I want to scroll up to a couple different parts of the conversation. I think I get your passion and the freedom. There's a word that keeps looping in the conversation. I think I understand what freedom means to you, but maybe you can actually put a little meat on the bone. What you mean when you use the word freedom?
Yeah, freedom is a big word that always, I'm always thinking about freedom. It's the ability to do whatever it is you want to do, whether it's traveling somewhere, whether it's buying a gift for my wife, whether it's paying for a massage once a week, whether it's taking my wife out to a nice dinner, buying my kids whatever it is that they want. It's not having the stress around money. That's financial freedom, I guess. But freedom in the other sense is being free to move around your body without any restriction, without any pain. Freedom with my family is being fully connected. you know, being able to talk freely, being able to talk openly without without too much stress, you know. So it's how do I say it? Being able to wake up with an inner peace, an inner calmness, and just know that you have everything. You're not missing. You're not lacking anything.
So how is the fulfillment purpose? Because you were focused on freedom before, right? And then you said Coach Omar said, "Hey, Eric, you're missing some freedom or fulfillment in your life." So how is that? I know it's only been a few months, but how is that bringing that into your life changed? And is that different than freedom? Is that the same as freedom? The fulfillment piece.
It's allowed me to share my gift and to watch other men come into their own, and to it's inspiring for me to see that I can help. I can really make a difference on other people's lives. I don't know if that. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's in a sense it's freeing, knowing that I can do the same for others that I did for myself. You know, and once I got my shit together, that's what Michael Holt said. Once you can get your shit together, you can now help others do the same.
Right. Some of us jump in too soon. Before we get our stuff together.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Now let's talk about the weed, because you've mentioned it. You spoke about it. Almost seemed like a glint in your eye when you said the word, but I also know that you're trying to work off it. So, and did that come up in Adam? Did that I know you stopped the first Adam. You stopped smoking weed, and you've been working on that since. Was that the first time that came to you, or that's something you've been working on for a while?
No, it's definitely been. Look, smoking weed has been a really big part of my life, and I will say it's been a gift and a curse. This year in particular, even before Adama, has been the best year in terms of being able to take breaks. I've been pretty consistently smoking for about 20 plus years now, since high school. It started off as like a social thing in high school. I think like most people, it connected me and my buddies. We would get together on the weekends, and we had one friend who had really cool parents, and we just bake out his basement and just, have a good time, shoot the shit and laugh. And we had a spot in Great Neck. The name of the place was called Ken James. We'd go behind the place and we'd smoke there all the time. And that became our new thing. Like, let's, who's got the Ken James? When are we going to go to Ken James? That was like our thing. But in college, I continued as a social thing, parties and whatever else. And then what happened was, after college, everyone kind of went in their own direction. And then the weed addiction stuck with me. And now I was smoking weed on my own. I think that's when it became kind of a problem for me. Where I was just waking up, smoking weed. But I became a very functioning pothead. I was able to play sports, basketball, whatever, play poker high. Like, I was able to do everything stoned. And I think that's part of the problem with weed, is that it's not like alcohol or other drugs that you can smoke weed multiple times a day, every single day, and you feel fine. So for the last 20 years, I've been pretty consistent. After the first Adama, I took 42 days off.
But why? I hear the positive side for you.
Yeah.
What's the negative side? What was the reason to stop? Why do you use words like addiction? You say it became a problem for you. What?
Yeah.
Describe that.
So the surface level is, the munchies. You wake up, in the middle of the night and you just stuff your face. I probably go back to the kitchen, 20 times. Just whatever's in there, I'm shoveling it down. I'm not getting great sleep. I'm waking up groggy. The thing with weed is that you smoke, and in the first couple of hours, I feel like I can do anything. Like, I can run through a workout and I'm flowing, puts you into kind of a flow state. But then later on, I kind of turn into a zombie, and I lose all control. All my inhibitions go away. So the problem came when I realized that it was also disconnecting me from God. I felt like there was also a spiritual aspect to it, where it was definitely a vice for me, and it had control over me, and I was abusing it to the point where I didn't know who I was without weed. It became who I was, and while I was on it, I was great. I was, my friends used to call me like a happy Buddha. But when I was off it, I was fiending, and it doesn't matter where I was. If I was traveling, I'd be looking to get some weed, and it took over my life. So I wasn't happy with that. I wasn't happy with the fact that I was very disciplined in every other area of my life, except for this one thing that I just couldn't. And hundreds of times I tried to quit. I told myself, I'm done. It's not for me.
Is this the opposite of freedom? The weed?
Kind of. Yeah. I guess you can say that. Yeah, it's kind of the opposite of freedom. Yeah, I wasn't
You
able.
got a master.
I had a master, and I wasn't happy about that, and I knew I had a problem with it. But what would happen, like let's just say after Adama, I went 42 days clean, and then I ended up going on a trip to New York and to Israel, and I saw some old family and friends, and we'd always smoke together. So what happens is I feel like a sense of confidence, like, oh, I'm okay. I could take one hit. It's no big deal.
Right.
I get a little cocky. I just did over a month and a half. And I even tried the whole thing. Like, I'll set an intention. I put the joint to my head, and like, I'm gonna do this to really connect. And you're like, it's all bullshit. I realized it was all bullshit. And I've written about it in my journals. I don't know how many times, probably hundreds of times, where I say I feel amazing when I'm off of it. I eat cleaner. My health is better. And the spiritual side, it's literally opportunities start to open up. New doors start to open up. And when I start smoking again, I just go downhill. I just fall off a cliff, start eating. All the work that I put in when I was sober would just all go to waste.
Got it. And where you are now, where are you now with it?
Yeah, so this year, since Adama, I've been probably the most in control I've ever been. I took 42 days off. I fell back. Then I took another 2 weeks off. I fall back, but I'm able to take more time off from it. So since this last Adama, I took 2 weeks off, and then I fell back. Like, my fallbacks are less.
And is the goal, like, is this a happy space with it, a happy relationship with it, or is the goal to eliminate it completely from your life?
So from my experience, and my wife, it's a tough one for her to swallow, because we really do connect together on weed. We communicate better. We have, we're able to be more intimate when we're on it. But for me, it's all or nothing. That's what I've learned. There's actually something that you said in the first Adama that really stuck with me. We're sitting in the circle, and I'm kind of opening up about my weed addiction, and another guy was like, "Listen, I smoke weed, and I'm pretty happy with it. Like, it doesn't, like, I feel like I can control it." And you said, for you, it's manageable. For Eric, it's not manageable. And that was really the truth. It's just not. It's just something that has some kind of hold over me, that once I smoke once, I'm just right back into the same, same loop.
What have you tried to do to stop? Not recently, I'm saying over the years.
Yeah, it's all just like, just writing it out. And what I learned was that I never went to any kind of rehab or any kind of addiction program. It was all just on my own, kind of cold turkey. I realized I can't have it in the house.
Yeah, but also hasn't worked.
Well, it's worked better in the last few months than it's
Right.
had in the last 20 years. So I'm doing something right. And I think what's changed for me is the way I speak to myself about it. So for the longest time, it was like, I don't want to smoke anymore. It's not serving me. I'm going to quit. Like, I can't. It was all, the word weed would always come up, the word smoke. And what I realized was, learning the law of attraction, that was a big part of my awakening, was I need to change the language I'm using. And now it's like, I wake up refreshed, clean lungs, clear mind. I'm sleeping well. I'm in control. I have discipline. So I turn the language into a positive. And the word smoke, the word weed, doesn't even enter into my vocabulary anymore, or less. I think that's helped me to get more control.
Got it. Earlier you said that it impacts your relationship with God or your spirituality. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, I believe that when I smoke, I'm disconnected from God. It feels like I'm cheating a little bit. I don't need any substance to connect to God. That's what I believe. And I see it. Like, I see new doors opening once I take breaks. Just like it's every time it's so clear to me that when I stop, Hashem is blessing me, and things are really, everything just falls into place. And when I go back to smoking, things just start falling apart. I'll lose money, or crypto exchange goes down, or just things go wrong when I'm smoking, and things fall into place when I'm not. I want to be able to show God that I can connect to Him with what he gave me without any outside substance, just going internal and speaking to him freely. So it also makes me feel like I'm not going to fulfill my potential if I continue smoking. I'm not going to become the person I'm supposed to become, that God wants me to become. You know, I have the ability now to help other people, and I think if I continue smoking, I probably won't be able to do that.
So is the goal 0?
The goal is 0.
The goal is 0.
The goal is 0. It's tough to say. Like I can't sit here and tell you I never smoke again. But I know that what happens when I do smoke is I fall back. You know, I have another buddy who we'd always smoke together. He took a year and a half off, and he was doing great, but he was struggling in other ways. And he's like, you know, let me try to start smoking again. And he did a couple months ago, and I think he really regrets it because now he's falling right back into that. So I'm going to learn from him, and right now I'm in a really good place in my head. I have no desire for it. I am still feeling a little bit of withdrawal effects, you can say, like the heart racing and the anxiety and the stress. But I think that's part of life, right? Being able to face that stuff, not run away from it. For the longest time, I said I just smoke because I enjoy it. I just like to smoke. It's just who I am. It's not. I don't have any issues. I don't have any traumas. I don't have like I'm not. But I realized that I was hiding. Like anytime I get a little stressed out, that would be my escape.
Right. There was some numbing going on there.
There was some numbing going on there for sure. Yeah. And now I have to face reality. I have to face things head on, and it's something that I have to. You know, it's important for me to learn how to do that. I think that's going to help me become a better person.
Got it. Do you know what it is underneath that's being numbed or being escaped from, or?
I don't. I mean, I think it's just not. I don't enjoy confrontation. You know, when I'm stoned, I'm a lot more. I tolerate a lot more, and when I'm not, I have to really, you know, I have to find out who I am when I don't smoke. So I can't pinpoint like
what it is.
What it is. Just daily stresses. You know, kids. Whatever.
Got it. More will be revealed.
But also, I would use it to work out. You know, I had a trainer. We would have a ceremony. We would smoke weed, eat some mushrooms, and then go on an epic like 3-hour workout at like midnight. You know, we'd go to the beach, we'd train, and I was using it as a crutch to the point where when I wasn't stoned and I would walk into a gym or walk into my home gym, I'd be confused. You know, I like didn't know where to start, didn't know what to do. But I think that was a byproduct of, because I always smoked so much and I only knew how to do things high, I had to now retrain myself how to do things without it.
Right. Can you talk about some of, you mentioned that 42-day period after the first Adama, some of the withdrawal symptoms or stuff you went through, or emotional or physical?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a real physical withdrawal, as well as a mental one. You know, I'm not so friendly to be around the first couple of weeks, but I think I have an amazing wife who's very supportive, and she puts up with me. But it's you know, your heart races when you feel like you need it, and when you hit any kind of level of stress, your mind immediately goes, oh my God, I need to smoke a joint. You know, I need to, just because that first hit is just like, I can chill now, I can relax, I can get back into my flow state. But it's not sleeping well. You know, you don't really remember your dreams when you smoke. So when you stop smoking, all of a sudden your dreams come back and you just have these crazy messed up dreams, nightmares, you know, sweating. Just like, it's a real thing. I would say the first couple of weeks are definitely the hardest. I lose all my appetite. I don't have appetite to eat, and it's really hard to fall asleep. Like really hard to fall asleep.
Got it. But through all this time period of trying to stop, you've never researched addiction recovery or 12 steps or any of those things?
No, it's more just like anecdotal stuff online of other people quitting smoking weed.
But again, it also hasn't worked.
I'm proud of myself where I am today, like what I've been able to do this year since Adama. It's just the least I've smoked in the last 20 years. So, and now when I do go back to smoking, I'm not smoking nearly as much, or I'm not doing it in the mornings.
Right, that's why I asked you before about the goal.
Yeah, I just know myself now. And if I do have one social, smoke session, that will lead me to the next day looking for weed.
Right, that's what's confusing for me hearing you speak, because, I understand wanting the positivity so that there's more motivation, but when you speak in ways that's like, yes, I'm more in control of it, and I'm okay, like it sounds like what I hear is like this is essentially the goal.
I see what you're saying.
And then when you say the goal is 0, because I know I can't go there, It doesn't match. Like not everything is aligning to that same.
Yeah, when I
statement.
mean in control, it's more like I know I need to stop. And now let me get rid of everything I have. I can't tell you how many times I've thrown away all the paraphernalia, the papers and the weed that I have and the grinder. And my wife wants to kill me every time I do that because she's like, I know you're just going to do it. You're going to look for it again in 2 weeks from now. But the problem is I keep going through the same loop. You know, I'll stop for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I'll go through the withdrawal and I'll smoke again 3-4 days in. And then when I want to stop, it's the same. I have to go through the same withdrawal again.
Right.
And that's just brutal.
It's like the feeling of not working out for a few weeks.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man,
it's like, yeah,
those first workouts back.
Yeah, it makes it a lot harder, you
yeah,
know?
It does.
And it's like, shit, it's like I just went through this, you know?
Right.
Why am I doing this again? Why do I keep doing this to myself? And every time I'll work out, I'll fast and I'll clean myself up and then I'll smoke and I'll blow it all in a day, you know? I've worked so hard for a few weeks and now it's just all, it's kind of like building up a bankroll of poker and then in one sitting, just dumping it all.
So where's the resistance to like the traditional ways that people use to get sober? Like I got sober through 12 steps. Where's the resistance on that side coming from?
I guess I never felt like it was a real problem for me. You know, it was just weed. It's not like a serious drug. It's not like I'm killing myself here. I'm not hurting anybody.
Right.
And I guess it's an ego thing. Like I felt like I had it under control, you know? But in hindsight, I probably could have used something like that. It probably would have helped me.
You know what the first of the 12 steps is? That's why I'm smiling. The first of the 12 steps.
Admitting that you're an addict?
Kind of, but the words are particular. So we admitted we were powerless over whatever the substance is. So in this case, we admitted we're powerless over weed. Our lives had become unmanageable. So that's where the unmanageable word comes from. It's just a recognition like, oh, this is unmanageable for me. In my mind, when I heard that, because, you know, any addict listening to the way you're talking, like these are the, like kind of the mental mind games we play to avoid the process of healing, because it's an arduous one. It's difficult. It's confronting. You know, it's not confronting for 3 days. It's confronting for several years. And for me, where I got to with porn, because it's funny because I talk a lot about porn, but I didn't start recovery because of porn.
Mm-hmm.
I started recovery because of prostitution and strip clubs and some of the like.
It's a problem. It's a real problem.
Porn is also a huge problem,
right,
but those are more obvious.
Right.
And I said, okay, I got to do something about this. And then as I started getting sober, then the porn was kind of there. And sometimes I would convince myself, oh, it's helping me not go to those other places. But then I realized, no, I'm not. My mind is not sharp. I'm numb. I'm starting to use it more often when I stop the other behaviors. So eventually I started saying porn is kind of the bigger problem than other things, because A, it's very accessible. You know, to go to a strip club takes time. You're driving, you're this, you're meeting, or whatever.
Right.
You know, here it's like you wake up and in 3 minutes you can already be,
right,
you know, on porn. And the other is just where we convince ourselves, oh, no one's getting hurt. It's not so bad. So I started calling it, porn is to sex addiction what weed is to drug addiction.
Yeah.
You know, it's this beautiful, like, here it is. You can have all the excuses in the world that it's not that bad.
Right.
But when it came down to it for me, I mean, the way I live my life is with a lot of feeling, a lot of intuition, a lot of, hey, this feels good, that doesn't, this person feels right, that one doesn't. Just moving around the world in that way. I'll go into an interview, how do I feel after I met the person? That's a much more important question to me. Like, how did that person make me feel? And it's not even like intuition. It's just like this big word. It's more, everyone's making us feel something, right? Just stopping and asking that question and saying, okay, like, how do I feel? I sat with this guy and he has this great resume. He told me about all his accomplishments, but afterwards, like, I feel heavy. I feel victim-y. Right. I feel like the outlook isn't positive in the world. I feel, and then someone else comes in and you feel like, hey, energized and clear and more confident and connected. And it's like, okay, like I can, this guy I can deal with. Not I deal with this guy, you know, this is the kind of feeling I want to bring someone into my life. Obviously, looking at skill sets also, but what I noticed when I was watching porn, I couldn't do that. I would sit with someone I had I'm just looking at data. And it's like that feeling turned off. And the few times that I stayed away from it longer, that became kind of my reason to stay sober. I said, I don't want to live the world. I don't want to live numb anymore. I don't want to live with so many of my senses dulled. It's like, yeah, I'm seeing, yeah, my mind is working, I can understand, but there's all these other things that I know exist, and they're offline for me, and that became kind of my reason to be sober. And then obviously what comes from it is enough of a motivation to keep going.
Yeah.
But the reason where I started down that path is the first step of the 12 steps, that we admitted we were powerless, our lives had become unmanageable. That, like, hearing you talk, like, that's what you haven't done with weed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this dance around it.
Yeah.
Where I came to with porn, I would say it's like getting in the ring with Mike Tyson. Like, I'll debate him. I'll play chess with him. Like, but I'm not getting in the ring with this guy and believing that, okay, this time I'm gonna beat him. So, and to me, like, the metaphor of getting in the ring is I'm negotiating. It's like, dude, you're not getting in there. Like, that. I'll do it one time. What about in the morning? What about if I tell my friend, unlock the phone for a few minutes? Whatever idea I have that may work only on weekends, only this much.
Right.
It's like, no, I won't be porn. It'll just be stuff on Instagram. It's like, no, like none. I'm not there. Mm-hmm. I'm not there. Once I start negotiating, then I get my ass kicked.
Yeah.
And that's what in 12-step lingo, we admitted we're powerless. Powerless doesn't mean choiceless. We have choice, but powerless means that I have a choice not to buy the bag of chips, not to eat the bag of chips, but I'm powerless when I eat one to not finish the bag, right? That's the powerless, and that's or I'm powerless when it's in my house not to go after it, right? Yeah. So it's those things that eventually allow us to get freedom from it. That's that we are powerless, and then we admit our lives to become unmanageable, which porn is similar to weed in this way, is we can tell ourselves, oh, it's okay.
Yeah. All the excuses in the world.
Yeah, I had this, remember my sponsor said, he's like, do you ever put yourself in real danger with your addiction? I was like, no. He's like, well, you answered that one quickly. Sure, never? Like, give me something. Like, never. Like, yeah, I mean, some of this stuff, like prostitution's illegal. Just because it went well, a lot of people are doing it, doesn't mean that can't go really bad really fast. And I'm like, hey, I have a friend who went to the same strip club I used to go to all the time. He was followed home and beat up at his door because some guy saw him take out a few $100 bills. And it's like, okay, this is a guy worth following. And it's like, yeah, there's like, you're ending up in a seedy part of town. You're ending up around a certain kind of people, and that's the risks attached to that. So, okay, I wasn't the guy beat up, but I was
in that position.
Right, I was there in the same vicinity, same place, And then, there are others who were arrested for prostitution. Okay, that wasn't me, but that doesn't, And then starting to see things like, the time I got stuck on a business trip for 4 days because I had to experience the local scene. Like, I had to see what was going on, and I walk out. I went on a business trip, and I was like, my associate who I went with, he flew back to Miami. I said, I'm going to stay. I'm going to take a later flight. When I got out of, my acting out, well, God, it's a crazy snowstorm. I was stuck there for 4 days. Because I had to. I'm like, I'm here in town. It's like those stories. It's like, that's pretty nuts.
Yeah.
That's pretty nuts.
I can relate. I mean, I've had some dicey moments, in Peru and Brazil and Thailand, where you're looking for the worst of the worst kind of people. Trying to buy some weed for some random strangers on the side. It's like, I come in the car. And all of a sudden, I end up in the back of a car with my buddy, and we're looking at each other like, what are we doing? We don't speak the language. We don't even know where they're taking us. And thank God I never had a really bad, incident. But I've definitely been in situations where I could have put myself in a lot of trouble chasing weed, or, I had times where I have my wife and kids in the car, and I'll drive off, 30 minutes out of the way just to go find some and pick something up. And
you never leave them in the car for a few hours while you go get it.
No, I wouldn't do that. That stuck with me, with my dad. So I wanted to be present with my kids, and I'm there, but I'm not fully present now because I'm stoned.
Yeah.
And that was my fear. My fear is that I'm going to wake up one day when I'm older, and I'm like, shit, I smoked my life away. I don't remember most of it, and I wasn't there. I was there, but I wasn't really fully engaged with my kids. I was off in my own world. and I don't want that to be me.
Right. So you mentioned about the ego when I said, like saying those words, we admit we were powerless, life's become unmanageable. You mentioned that, maybe it's my ego. What did you mean by that? Like maybe I think what you said was maybe it's my ego that doesn't want to admit that I need that.
Yeah, like I'm stronger than that, like I can do it on my own. I don't need anybody's help. I'm helping other people.
Right.
I don't need anybody to help me. I can do this. I can take care of this on my own. And I guess the truth is, for a while I said in Adama, and I think it spoke to you, and I said I need help.
Right.
Yeah, that was my reason for being there. I didn't have any childhood trauma. I just needed help. I need somebody to talk to about it to help me, figure out how to stop, how to get this out of my life.
Right. What's your definition of childhood trauma? You said I didn't have any childhood trauma.
Something that really messes you up and sticks with you, like something that you can't get past, that you're always thinking about. It's always replaying in your head, and it changes the way you are as a person, changes the way you trust other people, changes the way you act. Maybe it doesn't allow you to become,
Right. How would you know until you remove the...
Yeah, so actually Adama opened up a few wounds I didn't even know were there.
Right.
But a few incidences of my dad yelling at us and things like that, and not having my dad there as much as I would have wanted to, and having that connection with him. Thank God right now we're in an amazing place, and but I guess we all have some level of trauma. I guess it's just I compared myself to some of these other guys, and I'm like, wow, I really had it good compared to them.
You're saying here like the guys around a fire at Adama.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can hear some crazy stories there.
Yeah.
For sure. But I love what Viktor Frankl says. He says pain is like a gas that just like it seeps into every available crevice. Like you put gas in a room, just like goes everywhere. Where isn't it in the room?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he says pain is the same way. It just seeps into every available crevice in our body, and that's why it's inappropriate to compare pain.
Yeah.
Right. Where someone says, remember when I shared once with a family member, and I said I was talking about sexual abuse, and he's like, were you raped? I said, no. He's like, oh, I know someone who was raped. Right. I said, I know someone who lost an arm in battle. Would you tell him you know someone who lost two? Like, what is
right?
What is the meaning of that? So going back to you, it's these voice in our head. That's I actually talk about a lot at Adama, is like the minimization. We do a lot of this minimization of feelings, of experiences, which sounds like it sounds good. I don't want to be a victim. I don't want to make a big deal out of nothing. But sometimes we gotta like put something under a microscope to understand it, and then to move past it.
Yeah.
I'll give an example for that. I've shared about this a few times on the podcast, is like as it relates to forgiveness, right? So often people will say, like, I forgive my father, let's say. I once had this thought once, because I was like, oh, I gotta like let certain things go with my parents. I gotta forgive them. And it was this twice, man. It was like, forgive them for what? Mm-hmm. Like, what is it that I'm forgiving them? And then I thought it was right around Yom Kippur time, and Yom Kippur, like the prayers are, God forgive me for I've sinned with my mind. Forgive me if I sinned with judgment. Forgive me if I've sinned with levity. Forgive me because I've sinned with, I don't know, anger. Forgive me. Right? It's very, very specific.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, that's the way to forgive, right? The way to forgive is not to say, I forgive you for everything you did.
Yeah.
I forgive you for the time you humiliated me in public. I forgive you for the time you left me in the car for 3 hours to save a quarter.
I've actually gone through that exercise where I have specific moments where I'll go back to my childhood, put myself in that position, and I'll look to my dad and I'll say, look, I don't know what you're going through right now, but I understand. Like, I know you're not really mad at me. I know you're not you're going through a lot of shit. So I can forgive you. And I've done that many times. It's just a handful. It's not that many times where I can remember. But it's really a freeing feeling, just letting it go, going back to that time. And as a kid, knowing that I wasn't able to handle that and process it at the time, it was traumatizing, I guess, in some ways. It was some trauma, but after you let it go, it's like, okay, that's it. It's off my chest. It's gone. I don't have to think about that anymore.
Right.
And it works. It helps.
Going back to, like if I ask the same question to you now about 12 steps and addiction, and like on the one hand you say you want to stop weed, and on the other hand you don't really want to stop. You know what I mean? It's like kind of like I want a six pack. Although lately lately there's definitely something renewed with me around my relationship with food, my relationship, my body, something. I don't know what changed, but I'm fairly confident. We'll see, but I'm fairly confident that it'll show up in real life, because there's been stickiness around weight for a while that I wasn't able to quite put my finger on. I knew emotional or other stuff that I'm carrying, and I definitely feel like less baggage around that. But that being said, what I meant is that, you know, a lot of people can say they want something, but when there's a deep desire for something, we walk through walls. Like Elon Musk said, if someone can talk you out of a business, you shouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Meaning there's like, if there's some really deep desire to do something,
you push through anything.
Then you push through anything. So going back to that question around those two statements around wanting to stop weed 100%, and then when I ask you that question now, which you answered a few minutes ago, but if I ask you the same question now after this little conversation around the willingness to try a program that others have used to get over addiction instead of doing it yourself, how does that feel now?
I think that I'm at a different point in my life now. Reading certain books has really changed my mind. Big one, they're all kind of surrounded with this law of attraction idea. And I've been able to manifest the things I want in every other area of my life, except for this one thing. And again, it goes back to the language I've used. And I think that if I can get to the point in my own head where I can feel myself being free and feel myself being in control, I can conquer it on my own. I don't need outside. It's kind of like proving my own blueprint type of thing, where if I can see it and I can start to feel it, I can then live that reality. I'm not opposed to it. I going to Adama, I'm realizing how important these spaces are. Maybe I'd consider it,
What's your association with it? Like, not knowing anything about it, what's your association?
Yeah, so it's got like a stigma.
What's the stigma? I don't know, because I was there for 8 years.
You were there, yeah. So
I don't have the stigma.
Yeah, but it's a stigma that people are judging you. Like, oh, he doesn't have his shit together. He has to go to a 12-step program. He's an addict. He's not in control of himself. He can't stand up on his own 2 feet. I guess that's, the outside judgment looking in is.
You know what's as you're talking, you're bringing me back to a meeting. I went to a recovery meeting. It was probably within my first few months of going to recovery meetings. It was in Hollywood, and at that point in time, there was a lot of heaviness and shame around my meeting attendance. I didn't want people to know I was going, and it was this whole this whole thing. And we're going around the meeting, sharing, popcorn style. One guy talks, finishes, and the guy goes, talks, finishes, and I'm like, wow, like I have it wrong. Like in my mind, it's like we're the guys with the problems. But here we are, let's say 15, 20 guys sitting together, working our stuff out. And I'm thinking, wow, there were times I was in strip clubs with a couple hundred people in there. And I don't know how many were addicted, but I was seeing a lot of the same faces over and over, right? I wasn't the only one who was
right.
there all the time, right? So, okay, there was some handful that was, and it was more than 15.
Yeah.
Right? So if I think about it, it's like what's unique about us is not that we have a problem, because I'll find more sex addicts in those scenes than I will here, right? There's many more people in those settings. So what's unique about us is not that we have a problem, it's that we're doing something about it.
You're willing to admit it. Yeah.
So if you go to a casino, you're going to see thousands of people walking around. And if you go to a Gamblers Anonymous meeting, you're going to see 17, maybe. Right. Or maybe you'll see 4.
Right.
Right? So what's unique is not the gambling problem.
Yeah.
What's unique are people who are committed to doing something about it. And I think from that meeting on, I was like, first I was looking at them and I was like, wow, like this guy's cool. I like it. And then at some point I was like, wow, I'm one of them. Like this is right. I'm one of them. I'm trying hard to kick this part of my life, and I'm willing to do these uncomfortable things. Like my schedule every day every day, 7 p.m. I'm going to a meeting. I wasn't able to every day, but that was on the agenda every single day. And for years, it was 3 to 5 meetings a week. For years was like the plan was every day, and that turned into 3 to 5 meetings a week.
Yeah. So the buddy that I helped drop all that weight, he swears by his meeting. He loves going to these meetings, and he's like, I think he's respected there at this point. And he's still going, years later, he's still going to these meetings. I guess for me, I was just like, I don't even think there's meetings for weed. Like, does that even exist? And I realized, it's a problem. There's people there that could really use the help for that too.
In some ways, it's similar to the minimization, right? The minimization of emotional pain. Remember, I've seen it a lot. Like sometimes when someone has a really, really rough childhood, or let's say a very terrible relationship with their dad, it's easier to get over. It's okay, like the guy was a total jackass. I have these crazy stories about him. Yeah. I say it to a therapist. Guy's like, wow, that was your dad. He's a narcissist. He's a pig. He's whatever. We get the clinical, metaphorical words. We got everything to describe him. And the person's like, wow, I had a really tough childhood, right? And can work through that. And then others have all sorts of pain and confusion from their dad. But then the words surround him. Oh, he's such a good guy. He's a nice guy. He means well and this. And maybe all those are true, but this guy, it's so much harder to work on the issue because there's a minimization there that exists. Every time someone tries to go into the pain to feel it and heal it, the voice in their head is like, he was doing his best.
Right.
He's a good guy. He's doing his best. And the same is true, someone doing heroin, cocaine. I'm not saying it's better than weed. Of course not.
Yeah.
But the problem is so obvious. It's so clear.
Yeah.
That, people often say, okay, I got to.
Right.
And then on the weed, like you said, it's just same with porn.
It's like porn. It's the same thing. It's a tricky beast. Yeah. Because like you said, it's not something that people from the outside can really, nobody can look at me and listen, like notice I have a problem,
Right.
I look like I have my stuff together. I look like everything's great. But then, I'm left to my own devices and I'm by myself, and that's when it takes over. That's when the voice in my head is like, okay, whatever, not another joint, no big deal.
Right. Yeah, it's tricky. That voice is tricky. That's why we go to.
That's where I think this 12 steps could probably help, and you have a sort of an accountability partner.
It's much more than that. Ultimately, the 12 steps is a spiritual solution to a spiritual problem. Like at its core, that's what the 12 steps is. It's actual 12 steps of spiritual transformation. And for me, it was there's the flushing out of the system of negative things like guilt, resentment, anger, shame, like all of fears, like flushing that out of the system. And before that can be flushed out of the system, we actually have to connect with it, right? If we're numb, a lot of people say, like, I'm not afraid, I don't feel any fear. Okay, let's see what happens without. Let's see what happens without this, and all of a sudden, these bunch of fears that one is living with, and fear could be things like fear of intimacy or fear of losing one's money. There could be all sorts of stuff, and they have to be dealt with at some point. So that's one part of the 12 steps, and then once the pipes are clear, then there's an opportunity for a true personal relationship with a higher power, which even growing up in a religious community where Hashem and God was everywhere, I didn't learn that. I didn't learn how to develop a personal relationship with a higher power, someone that I can lie in bed and speak to or write a letter to and feel like it's answered like that, speak in my own words. I didn't have that. And through the 12 steps, the way I developed that was by watching other people, right? That's the beauty of it, is that wherever someone comes in, there's going to be someone else in the process. There are going to be a few that are where they are, and then a few that are further, and a few that are much further.
Wow.
Right? In a good, healthy meeting. So you're going to hear stories. It's like, oh, wow, I got tripped up on that thing for this thing I'm spinning on and these lies I'm telling myself. Like, this guy was there for a long time. Maybe he can shorten the process for me a little bit. So as we start talking and as we start mingling in those circles, we see a lot of ourselves through others' eyes, and it allows us to often move through the process much quicker. But it's not just an accountability partner. It's much more than that.
Yeah, so your addiction and your experience with that and kind of getting through the whole process ended up connecting you back to the higher power. You never really had that connection. Do you feel like the porn was pulling you further away?
For sure, yeah.
In a big way, and then at the end, going through that and kind of getting to the other side, it would end up connecting you, it sounds like.
Well, where there's addiction, there's pain.
Yeah.
Right? So there's addiction there's a numbing and escaping, distracting from, but doing it so long, it's as if imagine someone had a broken arm and they started taking painkillers. And then for years, they're just popping painkillers. At this point, they don't feel pain in their whole body, and they don't even know about the broken arm.
Right.
Meaning that
It's like
they're just disconnected from pain in their body, and then eventually they stop, and it's like, oh wow, this is the source of the pain. This is where it's at. And emotionally, kind of the same thing happens, where we eliminate the drug for long enough, and by drug I mean sex or weed or anything else, and then all of that pain starts coming to the surface, and it gives an opportunity for it to be worked through. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, I could resonate with that. When I stopped smoking, it's like getting hit with a ton of bricks. All of a sudden you have to face reality head on, and I have no escape. I have to sit with it. I have to process it. I have to just figure out a way to do it without any outside substance. And that's kind of what brought me to God. In a big way, it's like, okay, I got to put it all on God now. God is my new,
Exactly.
I can get high without, I can connect to God without anything, and He can help me through it. And I think that's where the disconnect was with God, is that instead of going to God, I was going to weed.
That's exactly what it is. Exactly. I was just reading a line the other day by Carl Jung, and it's like his thirst for alcohol was on a low level, a thirst for something spiritual. He said a search for a union for God. Like that's something like to call it. Like, meaning is like we feel like we're looking for the feeling alcohol gives us, but we're not, and that's why we keep chasing and chasing and chasing. And it's not just chasing. Like, I don't know if this is your experience with weed, but many addicts experiences like looking for something just slightly more powerful, a little bit of a different strain, a little bit of a different style, a little bit of a different way, in order to get that hit to be kind of more, like, let me get it a little more perfect. Like, this one's going to be good.
Yeah, it's chase, for sure. Yeah. Like, when I first used to smoke back in high school, I would go to another planet, just paranoia, and I'd want to get out, I'd be stuck in there. Then over time, the tolerance for THC grew, and I need more, and then all of a sudden I got to the point where I'm smoking, an entire joint to my head, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm perfectly fine. I'm able to function, and I wasn't getting as high anymore. So I'd have to smoke another joint a couple hours later, and it was a chase. It was a constant chase, And it's sad that most people have some sort of vice, and my goal is to be viceless. That's what I'm aiming for. Weed led me to porn. It led me to poker. Like I had no control over those things. Once I was high, I just whatever I felt like doing, I would do. Animal side would take over.
Right.
So once I stopped smoking weed, I was able to get some of my power back.
Yeah.
And now that's where I'm at. I'm looking to become completely viceless.
Okay. I hope it works. And if more is needed, then may have the courage and strength to pursue it in a way that's more.
I'm open to it, man.
Yeah, good.
I'm open to it.
Good. People often ask me, like, well, what do you do to get sober? So, similar to what you said, it's like, it's not about making money or not about any specific thing. It like starts at the beginning with a dream, like who we dream.
Yeah.
So in terms of getting sober, I can tell you what I did, but before I did that, I committed to doing whatever it takes to get sober. And then once, like when we're holding chips back, it's very, very difficult to get sober because usually we're holding the key, like
right?
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
The important chips. And it's like when we go all in and say, there's a great story. Rabbi Shays Taub, I don't know if you heard him talk, but he says this like story all the time about a guy who is praying to God. Like, God, have to stop drinking alcohol. You got to help me. You got to help me. I really want to get sober. And a voice comes out from heaven, and he says, so, well, you know, he says, hey, this is God. You called? So, yes. So he says, you want to get sober? He says, yeah. He says, how much you have in your pocket? He said, how much money you have in you? He said, I got $20. He says, well, good news. The cost of recovery today is $20. So he says, oh, wow, that's great. He says, but if I give you my $20, then how am I going to put gas in my car? He said, oh, you got a car. So cost of recovery is $20 and your car. He says, but if I give you my car, then how am I going to go to work? So I said, well, oh, you have a job. It's $20, your car and your job. That's the cost of your recovery. He says, well, if I don't go to my job, how am I going to feed my family? He's like, oh, you got a family. So the cost of recovery is $20, your job, your car, and your family. At this point, he just kind of stops talking. And God says, okay, like if you're willing to give all that, good, give it to me. He said, now it's all back, and now use it for me. Yeah. Right. And kind of the message that I got from that story is like you go all in with it. You go all in and say, I'm doing whatever it takes to get sober. That's number one priority. Remember, I had a sponsee once years ago, and he messaged me in the morning. He says, hey, I acted out last night. I said, why don't you reach out? Like we spoke about that. He said, it was 2 a.m. I said, so I said, I don't want to inconvenience you. I said, why not? Right. So what do you mean? I would just call you at 2 a.m? I said, yeah. Right. So well, I don't want to do that. I said, okay. So like, if you don't want to do that more than you don't want to get sober, then just keep doing, right? Yeah, keep doing that thing. I never said not to call at 2. My phone's on silent anyway. I don't care if you call at 2. Right. I may not have answered. We could have left a message. You could have done something, or I may have answered. Who knows? Yeah, right. If I saw a call at 2. But the thing is, like, the message I was trying to convey to him is, if you're committed to getting sober, if that could be more important than these rules that we put on our head of not inconveniencing someone, or right. I didn't say, I said call anytime. That's what I said when we spoke. I said call anytime, and I meant it. So that's, it sounds trite, it sounds simple, but that mentality is often what is needed to get. It's a powerful message, and it hits home for me, because it's like almost like, okay, you have a choice. You have weed on one side, and you got your future and your family and your whole life on the other. Which are you going to choose? Yeah. You can't have both, Yeah. And what I found also is, for people who go through it, there's this incredible confidence that develops, because it's very clear. Like, I had a similar thing. I was like, oh, my life's in order, things seem okay, and then there's just this little thing that I can't get right. Right. But that just little thing was so much more. It was also numbing and pain and like all this other stuff that it represented. Yeah. And then when I did get to a place where I wasn't just sober, but I wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't watching porn. I wasn't thinking about porn. I was like several years sober. And I was like, wow, this is a new life. This is different. This is a different me. There's a confidence that gets formed there. Mm-hmm. And it's like, wow, I can do hard things. I can do really, really, really hard things. There's a power that gets built from overcoming something that big, that difficult. So there's... Do you ever get the urge, the inclination to fall back anymore? Or you feel like you've put that to rest? The way I feel today is a little different, also because there's been a lot of medicine, also ayahuasca and other things that have developed a different relationship with it today. I said, I'm still Guy, right? Yeah. Sex is sex. Yeah. But I feel I don't want to say normal, but I used to feel a little crazy around the subject. Mm-hmm. I remember years ago I went to a meeting at a strip club, business meeting, and a few guys were meeting there, and after the meeting, we all get in the car, go home, and I make a U-turn to come right back to the strip club. And to me that was normal, and at some point, an hour in, I'm like, damn, I'm the only one who came back, right? So there was like multiple times I would feel like, dude, like this is... Hit you a little different. There's sex and there's me with sex, right? And it's not 100% like everyone else. And today I feel like that's not the case. I feel like it's a relationship that's... right. I'm human for sure, but that craving to go down a rabbit hole, no. That like obsessive thinking, a buzzing in my brain what it felt like when I decided to stop getting sober, what it felt like, I was not watching porn because I wanted to watch porn. I was watching porn because I wanted to stop thinking about watching porn.
You just couldn't get out of your head.
I couldn't get out of my head. So I'm like, maybe if I just stop.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But maybe if I just listen to the voice in my head, it'll stop talking. So I go do it, and I was like, oh, like, wow, that's good.
Right.
Now I can think.
Right.
And then those windows got shorter and shorter.
Right.
An hour, and then 45 minutes.
Right.
And sometimes 3 minutes later, the thought's coming again. I'm like,
Not letting get away from this thing.
Right.
No, but it gives me hope, watching you go through your process.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe doing some kind of group therapy, 12-step thing might not be the worst idea.
Yeah, it's not so bad to put everything on the table. Go all in. You like playing poker?
I like playing poker.
Sometimes you gotta go all in.
Another addiction. The problem with poker is that I win a good amount, so it's like not a real problem. But the problem that I have with poker is that it's such a time suck. I'm up till 2, 3, 4 in the morning sometimes, and I'm waking up, with missing my kids, seeing them going to school. So for me, it's like, again, going back to that idea of I'm 80, 90 years old. What's going to matter looking back? What's really going to be important? That I won all these poker tournaments? I'm not going to care about any of that. The money is nothing. Like, how much time did I actually spend with my kids and my wife and my family? How much time did I spend helping other people? Taking care of my body, making sure that I'm doing the right things by me. So as I grow, I'm trying to focus more on those things, try to put the vices aside and get control over them. That's really where I'm at. I'm trying to get control over them. And weed is one that it's an all or nothing.
I hear you. Yeah, I get it.
It's an all or nothing.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. All right, Eric. Appreciate you coming out. Appreciate you in my life, our families,
Absolutely.
our kids, and appreciate Adama. Yeah, been real nice. Been real good to.
It's a real honor.
Share your gifts, share your passion, share your wisdom with the wider population. So
I hope
this podcast. I hope the discussion hit home for you. I like to say that these discussions for me live on their own. If this never gets published, if the recording failed, never gets seen,
right,
they're meaningful enough to me. And if it ends up getting published, hopefully it touches and moves the right people, and they don't get too bothered by a couple of the expletives that the podcast is not usually on. But I think just to keep it there.
Yeah.
Comes across real.
Yeah, I mean, the whole process, since the moment you said, hey, you want to come on the podcast, just the way my brain started to work and started to think about, oh, okay, wow, like, I'm going to go on the podcast. I can't fail now. I have to really become this version that I'm talking about. So I appreciate the invitation, and looking forward to many more conversations with you.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric.